Have you ever stood at the edge of a conflict? Not a war with soldiers and flags, but a war within your own life. The silent, tense negotiation for a raise you know you deserve. The difficult conversation with someone you love, where every word feels like a landmine. The struggle to launch a dream, a business, a new version of yourself, against a world that seems indifferent, even hostile. You stand there, and your heart is a drumbeat in the stillness. A fog of uncertainty clouds your vision. Do I push forward? Do I retreat? Do I speak? Or do I stay silent? We are taught to fight, to be aggressive, to charge headfirst into our problems. We believe that victory is loud, that it is won through brute force and sheer will. But what if that's a lie? What if the most profound victories are silent? What if the greatest strength isn't in the force of the attack, but in the wisdom to avoid the battle altogether? What if the path to winning wasn't about overpowering your opponent, but about understanding the very landscape of the conflict so well, that you simply walk to the one place where victory is the only possible outcome? What if the art of war was actually the art of peace? There is an ancient map for this terrain, a guide written not on paper, but etched into the soul of human strategy. For 2,500 years, it has been a secret whispered in the halls of power, studied by generals and emperors. But its true audience was never them. Its true audience is you. The book is called The Art of War, and its author, a mysterious general named Sun Tzu, created something that has outlasted the very empires it was designed to protect. I first came to this text not as a soldier, but as someone lost in my own battles. I was exhausted by the fight, tired of the cost of conflict, the drained energy, the fractured relationships, the hollow feeling of a victory that cost too much. And what I found in these pages was not a manual for aggression, it was a philosophy of water. How to be fluid, how to be formless, how to yield, and in yielding, conquer. How to be so profoundly prepared, so deeply in tune with the rhythm of the world, that you never have to raise your voice, never have to force your hand. This is not a book about war, it is a book about life. It is a mirror that shows you the general you were always meant to be, the commander of your own mind, your own heart, and your own destiny. It teaches that the ultimate victory is the one that brings harmony, not destruction. The one that preserves, not shatters. So, forget the battlefields of old. Your battlefield is your career, your relationships, your inner world. And this ancient wisdom is the light that will guide you through it. We will walk through its 13 chapters, not as a study, but as a meditation. Each one a key to unlocking a door inside of you. These are the steps on the path. Chapter 1, Laying Plans. Chapter 2, Waging War. Chapter 3, Attack by Stratagem. Chapter 4, Tactical Dispositions. Chapter 5, Energy. Chapter 6, Weak Points and Strong. Chapter 7, Maneuvering. Chapter 8, Variation in Tactics. Chapter 9, The Army on the March. Chapter 10, Terrain. Chapter 11, The 9 Situations. Chapter 12, The Attack by Fire. Chapter 13, The Use of Spies. Let's begin this journey. One chapter at a time. Chapter 1, Laying Plans. Before the first step is taken. Before the first word is spoken. Before the world even knows a decision is being made. There is a quiet room. It exists inside of you. It is the sacred space of calculation. Sun Tzu tells us that the art of war is governed by 5 constant factors. To ignore them is to walk blindly into the dark. To master them is to hold victory in your hand before the conflict even begins. We think battles are won on the field, with noise and action and courage, but they are not. They are won here, no silence. The first factor is the way. We might call it moral law or purpose, but it is simpler than that. It is your why. It is the cause that binds you to your actions, the belief that makes your people, your team, your very soul, follow you into the fire. What is the unshakable truth you are fighting for? Is it so pure, so right that you and those you lead would face death for it without a second thought? If your why is weak, your will shall shatter. But if it is strong, it becomes a force of nature. The second is heaven. This is not a deity. It is the timing of the world. It is night and day, cold and heat, the seasons of life. It is the market trend, the cultural shift, the political climate. It is understanding that there is a time to plant and a time to harvest. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if the season is wrong, the seed will not sprout. The wise general does not fight the weather, they use it. They wait for the morning fog to provide cover. Use the winter freeze to cross a river. Look around you. What season are you in? Is it a time for bold action or for patient waiting? The third is earth. This is the ground beneath your feet. The distances, the dangers, the open ground, and the narrow passes. In your life, this is your environment, your industry, your social circle, your family dynamics. It is the landscape of your reality. Are you on high ground, with a clear view of what's ahead? Or are you trapped in a narrow pass with limited options? You cannot change the terrain, but you can understand it. By understanding it, you can make it your ally. Know the ground, and you will know where to move and where to stand still. The fourth is the commander. This is you. It is your character, your virtues. Are you wise? Are you sincere? Are you benevolent? Are you courageous? Are you strict? Sun Tzu knew that an army is but a reflection of its leader. A business is a reflection of its CEO. A family is a reflection of its parents. Who are you when the pressure mounts? Can you be trusted with the lives and dreams of others? Can you be trusted with your own? This is the most painful and the most important question. The war is won or lost inside the leader's heart. And the fifth is method and discipline. These are your systems, your logistics, your structures, the way you organize your resources, your time, your energy. A brilliant strategy is useless without the discipline to execute it. A noble why is just a dream without a practical plan. This is the boring work. Spreadsheets, the schedules, the training, the habits. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Without it, the most magnificent army is just a disorganized mob. The way. Heaven, earth, the commander method. Before you enter any conflict, sit in that quiet room and ask which leader, you or your opponent, is aligned with the way, which possesses the better commander, who has the advantage of heaven and earth, whose method and discipline are more rigorous, whose forces are stronger, whose people are better trained, who's more consistent in reward and punishment. By these 7 considerations, Sun Tzu says, I can forecast victory or defeat. This isn't about pessimism. It is about profound, unshakable realism. It is about refusing to gamble with what is important. Victory is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of mathematics, and the mathematics of the soul. Do the work in the quiet room. Know yourself. Know your terrain. Know your opponent. And you will find that the battle is over before it has even begun. Chapter 2. Waging War. The plan is laid. The calculations are made. Now the drums of war begin to beat. And with them comes a sound that every leader, every dreamer, every creator must learn to recognize. The sound of a clock ticking. When you move, you commit. You commit resources. You commit time. You commit the most precious thing you have, your life force. Sun Tzu is not a romantic. He is a pragmatist, he warns us. With the gravity of a man who has seen empires fall, that war is the business of expense. A campaign of 100,000 soldiers marching 1,000 miles will cost 1,000 ounces of silver a day. The property of 100,000 families will be drained. What does this mean for you? Your campaign is not one of soldiers, but of ours. Your currency is not silver, but focus, passion, and sleepless nights. When you decide to start that business, to write that book, to change your career, to fix that broken relationship, you are waging war. You are mobilizing your inner army, and it is expensive. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you time with friends. It will cost you moments of peace. If you are not careful, it will drain your spirit until there is nothing left. This is the great unspoken danger of any noble pursuit. The battle itself can consume you. This is why Sun Tzu's most urgent advice in this chapter is this: a prolonged war benefits no one. When victory is the main object, and it is slow in coming, your weapons will grow dull, and your spirit will be dampened. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. Have you ever felt this? The project that drags on and on and on. The argument that never resolves, the job hunt that stretches into an eternity. At first you were full of fire, but slowly the delays, the setbacks, the endless effort, it grinds you down. Your passion becomes a chore. Your dream becomes a burden. This is the state of a depleted army. The wise general understands this. They know that speed is the essence of war. Do not indulge in the drama of a long campaign. They aim for a swift, decisive victory, not because they are reckless, but because they are compassionate. They know the true cost of conflict, and they refuse to pay it for a day longer than necessary. And how do they sustain their army? They forage on the enemy. One cartload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own. This is not about theft. It is about resourcefulness. When you enter a new field, learn from those who are already there. Use their tools, their platforms, their knowledge. Don't reinvent the wheel. When you face an obstacle, don't just throw your own limited resources at it. Find the resources in the environment itself. Turn an opponent's strength into your own. Use the momentum of the market instead of fighting against it. A clever fighter is one who not only wins, but wins efficiently. They end the conflict stronger than when they began because they have absorbed the resources of the challenge itself. So look at your battles. Are you engaged in a long, draining siege against a problem? Are you burning your own supplies, your own spirit to the ground? Heed the warning. There has never been a state that has benefited from prolonged warfare. Find the shortest path. Be decisive. Value your energy as you would value your life. For in the great campaign of your existence, your spirit is the only resource you truly cannot afford to lose. Chapter 3. Attack by Stratagem. Here we arrive at the heart of the masterpiece. It's one line that if you understand it will change the very way you see the world. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Let that sink in. Not to crush the enemy, not to destroy them, but to humiliate them, but to subdue them, to win so gracefully, so intelligently, that the fight itself becomes unnecessary. We are conditioned to see conflict as a zero-sum game. For me to win, you must lose. We see it in business, in politics, in our own arguments. We aim to break the opponent's will, to shatter their position. Sun Tzu says this is the lowest form of victory. The best policy is to take a state intact. To ruin it is inferior to this. Why? Because what you destroy, you cannot use. A broken company has no value. A broken relationship brings no joy. Spirit you have crushed in an argument will harbor resentment forever. You may have won the battle, but you have lost the peace. You've created a wasteland and called it victory. The master strategist seeks not to break things, but to preserve them. To take them whole. How is this possible? It begins with a shift in priority. The highest form of generalship is to attack the enemy's strategy. See what they're planning, understand their intentions, and disrupt the plan before it is ever set in motion. If you can do this, you have won without moving a single soldier. Imagine a business rival is planning a new product launch. Instead of waiting to compete with them head-on, you anticipate their strategy. You form a key partnership, or innovate in a way that makes their plan irrelevant before it even starts. You have won. No price war, no marketing battle, just victory. If you cannot attack their strategy, the next best thing is to disrupt their alliances. Isolate them. No one succeeds alone. A company relies on its suppliers. A person relies on their support network. By diplomatically and intelligently severing those connections, you weaken their position without ever confronting them directly. Only if that fails should you consider attacking their army, a direct physical confrontation. And the very worst policy of all? To lay siege to a walled city? To bang your head against a fortified position? This is the strategy of the desperate, the unimaginative. It is costly, bloody, and stupid. Think of the arguments in your own life. How often do you lay siege to someone's walled city, their deeply held belief, their ego? You throw arguments at the wall, you hurl facts, you try to break it down, and what happens? They just build the wall higher. You are exhausted. They are resentful. Nothing is gained. The master of stratagem would never do this. They would seek to understand why the wall was built. They would address the fear behind the belief. They would find a way to make the wall unnecessary. This is the path of wisdom. It requires more patience, more empathy, more intelligence. but the victory it yields is a true victory, a victory that creates harmony. So know your enemy and know yourself, and you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. If you do not know your enemy, but know yourself, you will win one and lose one. If you know neither your enemy nor yourself, you will be in peril in every single battle. This isn't just about opponents. Knowing your enemy is about understanding the problem you're trying to solve. Knowing yourself is understanding your own strengths, weaknesses, and limitations. The ultimate goal is not to be a great fighter. The ultimate goal is to be such a great strategist that you no longer have a need to fight. To move through the world with such awareness and grace that conflict simply dissolves in your presence. That is the supreme art. That is true power. Chapter 4. Tactical Dispositions. The great warrior, Sun Tzu tells us, first puts himself beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waits for an opportunity to defeat the enemy. Read that again. It is a revolution in 2 steps. First, you make yourself invincible. Only then do you look for victory. We are obsessed with offense. With the next move, the next attack, the next big push, we focus all our energy on how we are going to win, but we neglect the foundation. We leave ourselves vulnerable, exposed. And so, a gust of bad luck, an unexpected move from a competitor, a personal crisis, and our entire structure comes crashing down. Sun Tzu teaches that invincibility is a matter of defense. The opportunity to win is provided by the enemy. Making yourself unconquerable is in your own hands. But the vulnerability of your opponent is not something you can create. You can only recognize it when it appears. So, what does it mean to make yourself invincible in your own life? It means building your fortress before you go to war. It is securing your finances before you quit your job to chase a dream. It is strengthening your mental and emotional health before you enter a difficult negotiation. It is building a loyal, dedicated team before you take on a massive project. Defense is not passive. It is the most active and powerful form of preparation. It is the quiet daily work of strengthening your own position. It is mastering your craft, building your savings, nurturing your relationships, clarifying your mind. It is the work that no one else sees, but which makes all the difference. A good fighter can't be defeated. A master fighter wins with ease. They win with ease because they don't seek out fights where victory is hard won. They only engage when the conditions are so overwhelmingly in their favor that the victory looks effortless to an outsider. People will call it luck. They will say you were in the right place at the right time. They will not see the years of defensive preparation. The years you spent building your high ground, fortifying your walls, sharpening your skills. The victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has already been won, whereas he who is destined to defeat first fights and afterwards looks for victory. Think about that. Do you fight and then hope for a win? Or do you create the conditions for victory and then simply step forward to claim it? This is the difference between a gambler and a general. This is why the master appears to do nothing extraordinary. Their victories are not celebrated for their cunning or bravery, because they win before the situation becomes dangerous. They solve the problem while it is still small. They choose their battles so wisely that the fight itself is a foregone conclusion. So stop looking for the magic offensive move. Turn your gaze inward. Look at your own defenses. Where are you vulnerable? Where are the cracks in your foundation? Spend your time there. Build your invincibility. Fortify your spirit. Master your domain, and then simply wait. Be patient. The world will turn. The seasons will change. And an opportunity, a moment of weakness in your opponent, a gap in the market, a perfect alignment of circumstances will present itself. And because you are prepared, because you are invincible, you will not have to fight for it. You will simply take it. And it will look to all the world like magic. Chapter 5. Energy. The battle is set. Your position is secure. Now, how do you command the flow of action? How do you unleash your power? Sun Tzu speaks of something he calls shiwich. We can translate as energy, momentum, or potential. It is the force of a situation. The wise general does not create this force with their own effort. They cultivate it and then release it. Think of a massive log or a heavy stone out on level ground. It is inert. It takes immense effort to move it. But place that same log on a steep, downward-sloping mountain, and it becomes a terrifying, unstoppable force. The log has not changed. Its potential energy, due to its position, has. The skilled commander builds this potential. They maneuver their army, their company, their project onto high ground, so that when they finally decide to act, they are not pushing a boulder uphill. They are simply giving it a gentle nudge and letting gravity do the work. This is the art of building momentum. How is this done? Sun Tzu introduces two fascinating concepts: Cheng and Qi. Cheng is the direct, the orthodox, the expected. It is the main thrust of your army. In your life, it is your primary business model, your stated argument, your direct approach. It is what your opponent sees and expects. It is the force that engages them, that holds their attention. Qi is the indirect, the unorthodox, the surprising. It is the flanking maneuver, the hidden reserve, the unexpected move. It is the guerrilla marketing campaign, the sudden innovation, the quiet conversation with a key influencer. It is the move that your opponent does not see coming. A battle is never won with Cheng alone. That is a simple slugging match, a war of attrition. A battle is never won with Qi in isolation. That is just chaos, a series of clever tricks with no substance. Victory lies in the masterful interplay between the two. The Cheng force fixes the enemy in place. It makes them commit. It makes them predictable. And while they are focused on your direct attack, the Qi force comes from an unexpected angle and collapses their position. Think of a great boxer. The jab, the jab. The jab that is the Cheng. It's direct. It sets the rhythm. It occupies the opponent's defense. And then, when the pattern is set, the devastating uppercut, or the hook from the side, that is the Qi. In a negotiation, your Cheng is the list of demands you put on the table. It's what you and the other party argue over. Your Qi might be the back-channel relationship you've built, or the alternative solution you introduce at the last moment that satisfies everyone's hidden needs. The master of energy is a creative, an artist. They can generate endless combinations of Cheng and Qi. Their tactics are as inexhaustible as heaven and earth. They are like a river, which can carry boulders along in its current. Their momentum is so powerful that their decisions are like the swift, precise release of a crossbow trigger. So look at your own efforts. Are you just pushing? Are you only using the direct force, the Cheng? Are you wearing yourself out in a head-on collision? Where is your Qi? What is your surprise? What is your creative indirect maneuver? Start building your potential. Position yourself on high ground. Combine the expected with the unexpected. And you will not be just a fighter. You will become a force of nature, a rushing torrent that carves its own path through the landscape. Chapter 6. Weak points and strong. The masterful warrior is formless. If he is formless, the deepest spy cannot discern his movements, and the wisest mind cannot lay a plan against him. What does it mean to be formless? It means to be unpredictable, to be like water. Water has no fixed shape, it takes the shape of its container. It can be gentle and nourishing, or it can be a crashing wave that obliterates stone. The enemy, your competitor, your obstacle, they want to understand you. They want to put you in a box. They want to define your strengths and weaknesses so they can attack you. Oh, he is always aggressive. Oh, she always avoids confrontation. Their company always competes on price. The moment they can define you, they can defeat you. The art is to show them a form, but for it not to be your true form. To appear where they least expect you. To be silent when they expect you to be loud. To be swift when they expect you to be slow. The one who can induce the enemy to show his own shape, while remaining shapeless himself, will be victorious. How do you do this? By making them react. The expert in battle moves the enemy, and is not moved by him. You achieve this by offering them something they want, a seeming advantage, by threatening them with something they fear, a seeming danger. You make them move to a place of your choosing. And as they move, they reveal themselves, expose their supply lines, their weak points, their true intentions. They reveal their form, and you, remaining formless and fluid, can concentrate your strength against their weaknesses. Imagine you are in a debate. Your opponent wants to draw you into an argument about a topic where they are strong. They want to fight on their chosen ground. If you take the bait, you are playing their game. But what if you refuse? What if you pivot the conversation to a place of your strength by asking a question they are not prepared to answer? You force them to reveal their lack of preparation. You strike where they are empty. You avoid where they are full. An army, Sun Tzu says, should be like water. Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing. There are no constant tactics, just as there is no constant shape to water. This requires you to be profoundly present. You cannot rely on a pre-written script for your life. You must adapt, moment by moment, to the changing reality of the situation. You must be empty of ego, empty of rigid plans, so you can respond perfectly to what is. Do not be the stone, solid and predictable. Be the water that flows around the stone. Do not be the fortress with fixed walls. Be the fog that surrounds the fortress, seeing all while being seen by none. Find your opponent's weak points by prodding them, by testing them, by forcing them to reveal their shape. And while they are busy trying to figure you out, you will have already concentrated your entire force against their single point of vulnerability. The victory will not just be yours. It will be inevitable. Chapter 7. Maneuvering. We have spoken of plans, of energy, of formlessness. But now, we must speak of the brutal reality of the journey itself. The space between the plan and the prize. This is maneuvering, Sun Tzu warns us. With the voice of experience, nothing is more difficult than the art of maneuvering. Maneuvering is taking a long and winding road and making it seem direct. It is turning disadvantage into advantage. It is the hard, grinding work of moving your army, your project, your team, your very self from where you are to where you need to be. And it is fraught with danger. Maneuvering with an army is advantageous. An undisciplined multitude most dangerous. What is this undisciplined multitude? It is the part of you that is impatient. The part that wants the reward without the journey. It is the team that is not aligned, that grumbles and complains. It is the impulse to rush ahead for a perceived advantage without considering the cost. If you set a fully equipped army on the march to snatch an advantage, the chances are you will be too late. On the other hand, to detach a flying column for the purpose involves the sacrifice of its baggage and stores. This is a profound dilemma we all face. If we try to bring everything and everyone along, perfectly prepared, we will be too slow. The opportunity will pass. But if we rush ahead, cutting corners, leaving behind our support systems, our baggage, we may arrive at the destination, but we will be too weak and depleted to actually seize the prize. How many brilliant startups have rushed to market, only to find they lacked the infrastructure to handle success? How many people have jumped at a promotion, only to realize they sacrificed their health and relationships to get there and now have nothing left? This is the peril of maneuvering. The art lies in balance. In understanding the rhythm of the march, Sun Tzu gives us the signals: a drum, a banner, a gong. These were the tools to unify the focus and movement of thousands of soldiers who could not see or hear each other. What are your drums and banners? In your life, it is your mission statement, your core values, your daily habits, your weekly meetings. They are the signals that keep everyone, including all the different parts of yourself, moving in the same direction with the same purpose. Without them, your army becomes a confused mob, and you must understand the psychology of the march. An army's spirit is keenest in the morning. By noon it has begun to flag, and in the evening its mind is bent only on returning to camp. A clever general, therefore, avoids an army when its spirit is keen, but attacks it when it is sluggish and inclined to return. This is the art of studying moods. Don't try to reason with someone when they are angry and energized. Don't launch your big idea to a team that is exhausted and burned out. Learn to read the energy, the spirit of the room, of your team, of your own heart, and act accordingly. Maneuvering is not glamorous. It is the long, hard road. It is where discipline is tested and spirit is won or lost. Do not underestimate its difficulty. Unify your forces with clear signals, manage your spirit wisely, and never ever sacrifice your foundation for the sake of speed. For it is on the long march, not in the final battle, that the war is so often decided. Chapter 8. Variation in Tactics. The general who understands the art of war is not a rigid machine. He is a living, breathing organism, constantly adapting to a changing world. A plan is a map, but the territory is always in motion. This is the lesson of the 9 variations. Sun Tzu tells us that a commander, arriving in a new situation, must be prepared to alter his plans. There are roads that must not be followed, armies that must not be attacked, towns that must not be besieged, positions which must not be contested, commands of the sovereign which must not be obeyed. This last one is the most shocking. Not obeying the commands of your leader? For Sun Tzu, this was not an act of rebellion. It was an act of higher loyalty. The general on the ground can see the reality of the battlefield in a way the distant ruler cannot. To follow a foolish order, knowing it will lead to disaster, is the ultimate betrayal. The true loyalty is to the mission, to victory, to the lives of your soldiers. In your life, who is the sovereign? It might be your boss, your investors, your parents, or it might be the plan you made for yourself 6 months ago. The New Year's resolution that no longer makes sense. The belief you once held that is now holding you back. The wise general is not a slave to their own plans. They are not afraid to pivot. The general who does not understand the art of varying his plans, even if he is acquainted with the 5 advantages, will fail to make the best use of his men. The skillful leader in his deliberations will blend consideration of advantage and disadvantage. If we expect to derive advantage, we must factor in the potential disadvantage, and thus our plan can be carried out. If we expect disadvantage, we must look for the advantage that can be found within it, and thus our difficulty can be resolved. This is a mental superpower. It is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in your mind at the same time. Before you take a risk, don't just think of the reward. Obsess over the downside. What could go wrong? How can I mitigate that risk? By preparing for the worst, you free yourself to pursue the best. And in a moment of crisis, when everything seems to be falling apart, don't just focus on the disaster. Ask the powerful question: what is the opportunity here? What advantage does this difficulty create? Every crisis rearranges the board. It creates new openings for the one who is flexible enough to see them. There are 5 dangerous faults which may affect a general. Recklessness, which leads to destruction. Cowardice, which leads to capture. A hasty temper, which can be provoked by insults. A delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame. Over-solicitude for his men, which exposes him to worry and trouble. Look at this list. It is a portrait of the undisciplined mind. It is a leader ruled by their emotions: fear, anger, ego, attachment. The truly adaptable leader is none of these things. They are calm, objective, and fluid. Their decisions are not driven by their own inner turmoil, but by a clear-eyed assessment of the situation. You cannot be a master of strategy until you are a master of yourself. Your plan must be able to change. Your mind must be able to adapt. Embrace the variations. See the advantage in the disadvantage, and free yourself from the prison of a single path. The destination is fixed, but the road to it is infinite. Chapter 9. The Army on the March. The army is moving. It is passing through the world. And the world is speaking to it, constantly in a silent language. The wise general is the one who knows how to listen. This chapter is a masterclass in observation. It is about reading the subtle signs in your environment to understand what is hidden. When you cross a river, get far away from it. When an invading force crosses a river in its advance, do not attack it midstream. It is best to let half the army get across, and then deliver your attack. This is brilliant tactical advice. But what is its lesson for us? The river is any point of transition. A career change, new market, a moment of vulnerability. Don't attack an idea when it is just beginning to form. Let it commit. Let it get halfway across the river where it is divided and exposed, neither on one bank nor the other. That is the moment of maximum opportunity. Sun Tzu gives us a field guide to reading signs. When the enemy is close at hand and remains quiet, they are relying on the natural strength of their position. When they keep aloof and try to provoke a battle, they are anxious for the other side to advance. Think about this in a negotiation. Is your counterpart calm and unmoving? They likely feel they have the stronger position. Are they trying to bait you, to insult you, to make you angry? They are likely desperate. they need you to make a mistake. The rising of birds in their flight is the sign of an ambuscade. Startled beasts indicate that a sudden attack is coming. What are the rising birds in your world? A sudden flurry of activity from a competitor? An unexpected resignation from a key employee? A rumor in the industry?
These are not random events, they are signals. They tell you something is happening out of sight. No.
The wise leader pays attention to the whispers, to the subtle disturbances in the pattern.
Dust rising in a high column means chariots are advancing. When it is low and wide, it signifies the approach of infantry. This is about interpreting data, seeing the shape of the trend. Is the market chatter concentrated and intense, or is it a broad, slow-moving cultural shift? Your response must be tailored to the nature of the force that is approaching. Humble words and increased preparations are signs that the enemy is about to advance. Violent language and driving forward as if to the attack are signs that he will retreat. This is counterintuitive and profound. When someone is truly confident and ready to act, they are often quiet, focused, preparing. The bluster, the threats, the loud displays of aggression, these are often masks for fear and weakness. They are trying to scare you off, because they are not prepared for a real fight. To be a great strategist is to be a great naturalist. See the world as a living system full of signs and signals. Stop listening only to the loud declarations. Start paying attention to the dust clouds, the startled birds, the tone of voice, the things left unsaid. Environment is always telling you the truth. Your only task is to learn its language. Chapter 10. Terrain. We have spoken of the army. Now we must speak of the ground itself. For the ground is not a passive stage for the battle. It is an active participant. It can be your greatest ally or your most formidable foe. Sun Tzu identifies 6 kinds of terrain, and each has its own logic, its own psychology. First is accessible ground. This is ground which can be freely traversed by both sides. On this terrain, be the first to occupy the high ground, secure your supply lines, and you will have the advantage. This is the open market, the level playing field. The key here is speed and preparation. Get there first and set up your position wisely. Second is entangling ground. This is ground which is easy to get into, but hard to get out of. A sudden attack here against an unprepared enemy can be successful. But if they are prepared and you fail, you will be trapped. This is the tempting project, the easy opportunity that has hidden complexities. Be wary of entangling ground. If you enter, know your exit strategy before you even take the first step. Third is temporizing ground. This is ground on which neither side can make the first move without it being a disadvantage. It's a standoff. Here, the key is to feign a retreat, lure the enemy out of their stalemate position. Once they move on to more favorable ground for you, you can strike. In life, these are the deadlocks, the stalemates. Don't force them. Change the dynamic. Create an illusion of weakness that tempts the other side to break the stalemate for you. Fourth are the narrow passes. If you can occupy them first, they are a massive force multiplier. You can hold them with a small force against a large one. Yes. But if the enemy occupies them first, do not attack them. Only attack if their position is weak. This is the niche market, the critical patent, the key piece of real estate. If you control the narrow pass, you control the flow. Fifth are precipitous heights. If you are first to occupy these, you hold the commanding position. You are on the high ground, looking down. But do not try to attack an enemy who holds such a position. Lure them away. These are positions of established dominant authority. Don't attack Google at search. Don't attack Apple at brand loyalty. It is a foolish uphill battle. Change the battlefield. And sixth, positions at a great distance. When the two sides are far apart, it is difficult to provoke a battle, and you lose by fighting. This is when your goals are too far from your current reality. A direct assault is pointless. The distance is too great. You must break the journey down into smaller, more manageable campaigns. These 6 are the principles of Earth, and the general has a supreme responsibility to inquire into them. But notice the pattern. In every case, victory depends on the commander's judgment. The terrain itself is neutral. It is your relationship to it that matters. And Sun Tzu gives a chilling warning. The terrain is an external factor. But there are 6 calamities that arise not from the terrain, but from the faults of the general himself. Flight, A force of equal strength attacking one 10 times its size. Insubordination. When the common soldiers are too strong and the officers too weak, collapse. When the officers are too strong and the soldiers too weak, ruin. When the higher officers are angry and insubordinate, and on meeting the enemy, they go into battle on their own account. Disorganization. When the general is weak and without authority, rout. When a general, unable to estimate the enemy's strength, uses a small force to engage a large one. Look at this. The greatest dangers are internal. Lack of judgment, lack of discipline, lack of harmony between the parts of the whole. Your commander, your conscious mind, must not only understand the external landscape, they must understand the internal landscape of their own army, their team, their emotions, their habits. Treat your soldiers, your employees, your family, your very own energy and spirit as your beloved children, and they will follow you into the deepest valley. But if you are unable to command them with authority, they are as useless as spoiled children on the ground. But first, know your army, dawn. And above all, know yourself. Chapter 11. The 9 situations. Now, the campaign deepens. We move from the physical terrain to the psychological terrain, the battlefield of the human heart. Sun Tzu describes 9 situations, 9 stages of a campaign, and each one demands a different mindset, a different spirit. First is dispersive ground. This is when you are fighting in your own territory. Here, soldiers are close to their homes. Their minds are not focused. They will scatter easily. The lesson? On dispersive ground, do not fight. Instead, unify the will of your army. Create a singular purpose that overcomes the distraction of home. When starting a project, the initial phase is dispersive ground. Enthusiasm is high, but focus is low. Unify the team around one clear, immediate goal. Second is facile ground. You've made a shallow entry into hostile territory. It is easy to retreat. Here there is a risk of complacency. The lesson on facile ground: halt not. Press forward. Create momentum. Don't let the ease of the situation lull you into inaction. Third is contentious ground. This is ground that, if you possess it, gives you a great advantage. It is the key market, the critical contract. It is highly sought after by both sides. The lesson on contentious ground: do not attack. Fortify your defenses. It is too valuable to risk in a direct assault. Make your position unshakable. Fourth is open ground. Both sides have freedom of movement. It is accessible terrain. Here, do not try to block the enemy's way. Instead, pay close attention to your own defenses. On open ground, you cannot control your opponent, so focus on what you can control, your own flawless execution. Fifth is ground of intersecting highways. This is ground that connects multiple territories. Whoever controls it has access to everything. Here, form alliances. Cannot hold this central ground alone. In business, this is the platform, the ecosystem. Success here comes from partnership, not dominance. Sixth is serious ground. You have penetrated deep into hostile territory, leaving many fortified cities behind you. Retreat is difficult. The army is focused now. There is no easy way out. The lesson on serious ground: ensure a continuous stream of supplies. Your team is committed deep in the project. Now is the time for support, resources, and encouragement. Seventh is difficult ground. Mountains, forests, marshes. Movement is painful and slow. The lesson: on difficult ground, keep steadily on the march. This is the grind. The part of the project where progress is slow and the work is hard. The only way through is one step at a time. Do not stop. Eighth is encircled ground. The path of retreat is narrow, and a small number of the enemy could crush you. Here, you must resort to stratagem. You cannot win with force. You must outthink your opponent. When your options are limited, your creativity must be limitless. And finally, the ninth, and most terrible, and most powerful: death ground. This is ground on which you can only survive by fighting with the courage of desperation. There is no escape. Your back is against the wall. What is the lesson here? On death ground, fight. The soldier in this situation has no choice. He's no longer afraid. He stands his ground. He is alert. He's without guile. Trusts implicitly. He fights. This is the strange paradox of desperation. When all hope is lost, a new kind of power is born. The fear of loss vanishes because everything is already lost. And in that emptiness, a pure, unshakable will to survive emerges. A skillful general knows how to take his own troops and place them on death ground, not literally, but psychologically. By cutting off the options for retreat, by committing so fully to a goal that failure is not an option, you can unlock this incredible reserve of human potential. When you burn your boats and smash your cooking pots after crossing a river, you are creating death ground. You are telling your army and yourself, there is no going back. The only way is forward. Look at your own life. Are you on dispersive ground, distracted and unfocused? Are you on difficult ground, grinding through a hard task? Or are you facing death ground? A moment where you must succeed or face ruin. Do not fear that moment. Understand its power. When you have nothing left to lose, you have everything to gain. It is on death ground that heroes are made. Chapter 12. The attack by fire. There are weapons, and then there are forces of nature. Fire is a force of nature. To use it in war is to play a dangerous and powerful game. Sun Tzu dedicates an entire chapter to this single, elemental tool. It represents something more than just burning camps. It represents disruption, sudden chaotic, game-changing event. There are 5 ways of attacking with fire. The first is to burn soldiers in their camp. The second, to burn stores. The third, to burn baggage trains. The fourth, to burn arsenals and magazines. The fifth, to hurl dropping fire amongst the enemy. The use of fire must have a basis. There must be a proper season. There must be a proper day for the fire to break out. The season is when the weather is dry. The day is when the moon is in certain constellations, for these are the days of rising winds. This is not superstition. It is a metaphor for calculated disruption. You do not introduce chaos randomly. You do it when the conditions are perfect. When the environment is dry, stagnant, brittle, ready for a change. And you wait for the wind, a market shift, a public relations crisis for your opponent, a technological breakthrough to carry your fire and amplify its effect. When you attack with fire, you must be prepared to second your attack. When the fire breaks out, if the enemy's soldiers remain quiet, bide your time and do not attack. Let the fire reach its height. Then, if you can, follow it up. If not, stay where you are. This is critical. The disruption itself is not the victory. The victory comes from how you exploit the chaos that the disruption creates. Launching a revolutionary product is an attack by fire, but the launch is not the win. The win is how you manage the subsequent demand, how you outmaneuver competitors who are now scrambling to react. A powerful public statement can be an attack by fire. It shatters the status quo. But the win comes in the follow-up actions that capitalize on the new narrative you have created. But Sun Tzu ends with a powerful note of caution. A ruler should not put troops into the field merely to gratify his own spleen. A general should not fight a battle simply out of pique. If it is to your advantage, make a move. If not, stay where you are. Anger may in time change to gladness. Vexation may be succeeded by content. But a kingdom that has once been destroyed can never come again into being. Nor can the dead ever be brought back to life. Fire is a tool, not a strategy. Disruption is a means, not an end. Do not use it out of anger, ego, or frustration. Use it only when it serves a clear strategic purpose. Because fire, once started, is hard to control. It burns both ways. The enlightened ruler is heedful, and the good general is full of caution. This is the way to keep a country at peace and an army intact. In your life, think carefully before you light the match, before you send the angry email, before you burn the bridge, before you shatter the peace. Is this chaos truly necessary? Is it a strategic move on a dry day with a rising wind? Or is it just your own anger, looking for a way to burn? The master knows when to use fire, but more importantly, they know when to leave the tinderbox untouched. Chapter 13. The Use of Spies. We have arrived at the final chapter, but it is perhaps the most important of all. It is the secret ingredient, the invisible hand, that guides every other decision. It is the foundation upon which all victory is built. Intelligence. 100,000 men may be kept in the field for years, engaged in a single decisive battle. The private fortunes of 100,000 families may be drained. But to grudge the expenditure of 100 ounces of silver for the sake of finding out the enemy's situation is the height of inhumanity. Such a man is no leader of men, no present help to his sovereign, no master of victory. This is Sun Tzu's most passionate plea. Everything the planning, the maneuvering, the tactics is useless without one thing, foreknowledge. And how do we get this foreknowledge? It cannot be gotten from spirits, cannot be obtained by analogy or calculation of the heavens, must be obtained from other people, from those who know the enemy's situation. This is the use of spies. Today the word spy feels cloak and dagger, but its meaning is deeper. It is the art of gathering intelligence. It is market research. It is empathy. It is listening. It is understanding your customer, your competitor, your partner, your own team on the deepest possible level. Sun Tzu outlines 5 classes of spies. Local spies, hiring the enemy's own people. Inward spies, using the enemy's officials. It's converted spies, getting hold of the enemy's spies and using them for your own purposes. Doomed spies, giving your own spies false information to deceive the enemy. And the most important of all, surviving spies. These are the ones who come back from the enemy's camp to bring you the report. It is through the surviving spy that the entire web of intelligence is managed. They are the central node. Therefore, there is no one in the whole army with whom more intimate relations should be maintained. No one on whom more lavish rewards should be bestowed. In no other business should greater secrecy be preserved. Who are your surviving spies? They are the salesperson who truly listens to a customer's complaints. They are the engineer who studies a competitor's product. They are the leader who has candid, trusting conversations with their team. They are the quiet part of yourself that pays attention to your intuition, that gut feeling that tells you something is wrong. Intelligence is your most valuable asset. It is worth more than any weapon, any resource. To be stingy with what it costs to acquire knowledge is the ultimate folly. It is choosing to be blind. Without a perfect system of intelligence, you are gambling, you're guessing, you are hoping. The master strategist does not hope. They know. They know the enemy's commanders, their allies, their doorkeepers, their bodyguards. They know who is greedy, who is vain, who is resentful. And they use this knowledge not to destroy, but to influence, to persuade, to dismantle the will to fight. The end and aim of spying in all its 5 varieties is knowledge of the enemy. And this knowledge can only be derived in the first instance from the converted spy. Hence it is that he must be treated with the most liberal generosity. This is a beautiful and final point. The most valuable intelligence comes from someone who has seen both sides, someone who has changed their allegiance based on better treatment, a better vision. It teaches us that the ultimate way to win is not through force, but through conversion, through showing a better way, through being the leader that even your opponent's people would rather follow. So as we end this journey, understand this. The art of war is not an art of violence. It is an art of supreme awareness. It is the art of knowing. Know the terrain, know the season, know your army, know your opponent. But above all, know yourself. For the ultimate intelligence is self-knowledge, and the ultimate victory is the one that is won in the silent, sacred battlefield of your own mind. And so, the journey through these 13 chapters comes to a close, but the real work has just begun. This ancient text is not a book you read once. It is a companion you walk with for a lifetime. Its lessons are not rules to be memorized, but seeds to be planted in the soil of your own experience. What have we truly learned? That preparation is a silent victory. That energy must be conserved like a precious jewel. That the greatest win is the one that requires no fight. That to be formless is to be invincible. That the greatest dangers are not outside of us, but within our own unexamined emotions. And that wisdom, true, deep, human understanding, is the most powerful weapon of all. The art of war is not about dominating the world. It is about achieving a state of such profound harmony with it that it no longer feels like a battle. It is about mastering yourself so that you can move through life with grace, efficiency, and peace, The battlefield is not out there. It is within you. The terrain is your mindset. The enemy is your doubt. The army is your will. And you are the commander. Lead with wisdom. Lead with benevolence. Lead with courage. If this journey has spoken to you, if it has stirred something in the quietest part of your soul, let its wisdom settle. Don't rush to apply it. Just let it be with you. Let it inform the way you see your next challenge, your next conversation, your next quiet moment of decision. The scroll is now rolled up. The rest of the story is yours to write. Share your own battles, your own victories of stratagem in the landscape below. For in sharing our maps, we all find our way home. And if you wish to continue this journey inward, subscribe, and we will walk these paths of wisdom together.